one thing we've talked about with derivatives is being one of the interpretations of the derivatives are slopes of the tangent lines. So it can tell you the shape of the graph if we're increasing, going uphill, decreasing, when we might have a horizontal tangent line, various things like that. Another important interpretation are the rates of change. And so what the book says is when f prime of x is not drastically changing, which is a little bit uncomfortable because what do they mean by that? What is a drastic change? Well, we'll explore that as time goes on throughout this class. But when f prime of x is not drastically changing, f prime of x gives us an approximates the amount f of x changes, whatever that is changes when x is increased by 1. The y values change when x is increased by 1. F prime of x, because it's related to slopes of tangent lines, approximates that. The tangent line isn't always going to be exactly what is going on with the curve, but it can approximate what is going on. So that's what we're going to explore. And we're going to look at this in the context of number 6 in the book. Number 6 in the book is we're given a situation that an economist is interested in how the price of a certain item affects its sales. At a price of P dollars, a quantity Q of the item is sold. If Q equals F of P, explain the meaning of each of the following statements. Now, before we talk about the statements, they gave this in mathematical notation. Remember what the phrase, when we were talking about number 2 and number 4, what this is saying is Q is a function of P. And in this case, the quantity of items sold is a function of its price. So when we know the price, we can get an idea of how many we're going to sell. And when we change that price, we're going to probably change how many we are able to sell. So we are given, in part A, we are given the mathematical notation F of 150 equals 2,000. Now, when we're just given formulas, we understand what that means. When the x value is 150, the y value is 2,000 on the graph. But in this context, what does this actually mean? We have to remember what is our x value and what is our y value, but we have p's and q's. What is our independent and what is our dependent variable? The 150 is the price. And what we get out is how many we sell. So at a price of $150, 2,000 items are sold. And this is really understanding function notation. But now we're getting into calculus. What does it mean if f prime of 150 equals negative 25? Now, if we were to write this in Leibniz notation, we would be given df dp, or equivalently dq dp, when p equals 150 equals negative 25. Now this is really messy to write. It's messy to look at, messy to write. But it can help us remember what this means. the change in F, or the change in quantity, over the change in price. And so rate of change, this gives us, when this isn't too drastic, this approximates our amount that f of x changes when x is increased by 1. Okay, well in this context, that at the price point of 150, if we were to change our price to $151 instead, we can estimate that we will sell 25 less items. So how we might say is, if we change price to $151, we can expect to sell about 25 fewer items. And we could even be more specific about that. 25 fewer items, well, that would be about, 1,975 items.